Hi guys, long time no see. Wanted to do a tutorial today for you on question 1. It's possibly a question that I look over with my classes and perhaps your teachers do too, because I just kind of assume you're always going to know it and be brilliant at it, but in actual fact it is one of those kinds of questions where you can get easy marks, but equally you can throw away marks quite easily by just not reading the question properly. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew exactly what they were needing to do with this. So I'm looking for these tutorials at the June 2018 paper, and looking at question 1 from this, let's just see if I can zoom in a tiny bit more. So we had the question there, which was to list 4 things that you've learned about Mr. Fisher from the source. So if you've not got that in front of you, you can just pause now and have a look. Okay, and you need 4 things from Mr. Fisher, about Mr. Fisher. So as I've said in previous tutorials, I always recommend that you start with a pronoun. So he, she, it, or they, because chances are you will always be asked to list 4 things, and it's going to be chances are about a character or about a setting. So using a pronoun to start off your sentences, make sure it's really factual and there's no kind of inferences going on there. And another thing that I always advise is just to stick an extra one down, because we know that they mark your best 4, not your first 4. So it's always just worth it for the sake of, 10-15 seconds of writing it down. But I just wanted to look at this because marking this summer, this question, some students only ended up getting 3 because they made a few silly mistakes and made some inferences rather than facts. So if we look at this, he lived alone in a small terraced house, he didn't own a car, he was boring and old, and he liked to do his marking on the weekend. Now, when I look back at this, what do I see here? He didn't own a car, and therefore preferred to do as much as he could in the form room after school. So this is really telling us, it's not that he preferred to do marking, it's that he prefers to get it out of the way before he goes home. But equally, we've made some assumptions here about Mr. Fisher, and possibly this is because students have read the full extract and they know that he's been teaching a long time and is frustrated, yada yada yada. So I always have this sort of principle of read what you need in the exam. So you only need to be, sorry about that shadow, my cat's walking around my kitchen table. Wait, down. So, sorry. So when you look at this, he lived alone in a small terrace house. These are all facts, but this would not get a mark because it's an inference. And equally, he didn't like to do marking on the weekend. He liked to get it out of the way. So you could look here and think, right, this student's going to get a mark here, and they've stuck this extra one down there, so they're going to get 3 marks for 3 facts. But it's worth remembering that you can make multiple points on a line and still get the mark. So he lived alone would get a mark, he lived in a small house would get a mark, he lives in a small terraced house equally would get a mark. So you clearly can't get 5 marks, but you would get a full 4 because you've made more than 1 point on a line. Now, I will tell you this as a bit of an examiner tip. Yes, if you get someone like me marking who knows the mark scheme really well, they would give you full credit. But sometimes, best will in the world, examiners make a lot of mistakes, and someone might just give you that as 1 mark. And that's why it's better to split up all of your ideas as separate bullet points. Hook up, break down. Sorry. Cat. So I would have gone, he lived alone, he lived in a small house, or he lived in a small terrace house for separate points. So it's a small matter, but you know, every year in August when I see some of my students, my year 11s, and they've missed out on a grade 4 or 5 by 1 mark, you know, it's really upsetting to see. So just want you to remember, start your points off with a pronoun, make it clear that they're facts, add an extra one, and that principle really of read what you need for the question, don't do more than you need to. Okay, so I hope that was useful for some of you who might struggle a bit with question 4, and I am moving on seamlessly into a question 2 tutorial. See you in a moment.